Once upon a time, there was a single dad who had two sons aged 5 and 9. The father worked hard to provide for his family, but often had to leave his sons home alone while he was at work. One day, the youngest son called his father in a panic. He told his dad that the older brother had brought a friend home from school who could see people that no one else could see. The friend kept saying there was another child in the corner of the room, but the father thought that it was just the child's imagination and tried to calm his son down. However, when the father came home from work, he noticed that his older son's friend seemed uneasy and kept glancing around the room. The friend explained that he had always been able to see things that others couldn't, and it had never bothered him until now. As the evening wore on, the friend's unease grew stronger. He said he could see more people in the room and that they seemed angry and upset. The father tried to reassure the friend, but he became more and more terrified. Suddenly, the friend screamed and pointed to a spot in the corner of the room. The father and his sons looked but saw nothing. The friend said that he could see a dark figure that was watching them and that it wanted to hurt them. The father didn't know what to do, so he took his sons and the friend to a neighbor's house. The friend refused to go back to his home and stayed with the family for a few days. Over the next few days, the father tried to figure out what was going on. He discovered that the friend's ability to see things that others couldn't was real, and that he had been born with it. He also found out that the dark figure the friend had seen was the ghost of a man who had died in the house many years ago. The father tried to make his home a safer place for his sons and the friend. He sought the help of a therapist who specialized in dealing with children who had unique abilities. With the therapist's help, the friend was able to come to terms with his ability and learn how to manage it. The family never forgot the experience, and the friend continued to visit them often. They were grateful that they could help him and that they could learn from him about the world of the supernatural.
Once upon a time, there was a lady who lived in an apartment complex. One day, as she was walking down the hall, she saw a man walking out of a neighbor's apartment. The lady assumed someone had moved in, but when she asked her neighbor about it, they said no one had moved in. This confused the lady, but she was sure she saw someone walking out of the apartment. Days later, the same man walked out of the same apartment. The lady followed him, but when she turned the corner, the man had disappeared into thin air. The lady was spooked and decided to tell the landlord about what she had seen. The landlord was taken aback because the man the lady described had been a tenant 6 years ago. Unfortunately, he had passed away in the very apartment the lady saw him leaving. The lady and another neighbor followed the landlord into the apartment, which they found was completely vacant. But on the counter, there was a photo frame, and the lady immediately recognized the man in the photo as the one she had seen walking out of the apartment. The landlord explained that the man's family had left the photo behind after his passing. The lady was terrified by the experience and could not shake the feeling of unease. She wondered if the ghost of the deceased tenant was haunting the apartment, and the thought sent shivers down her spine. She could not sleep properly for weeks after the incident, and the memory of the ghostly figure still haunts her to this day.
There was a man named Adam who loved pumpkin pie. Every Halloween, he would buy one from his favorite bakery, which was renowned for their delicious desserts. One year, Adam bought his usual pumpkin pie, and when he took a bite, he noticed a strange slimy taste. He brushed it off, thinking it was a new ingredient the bakery had added to the recipe. Days went by, and Adam began to feel increasingly sick. He had a constant headache and felt nauseous. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, but he didn't know what. Then, one day, he heard a news story on the TV that shocked him. A bakery employee had been caught putting dirt into the pumpkin pies they were making. Adam realized with horror that it was the same bakery where he had purchased his pumpkin pie. Suddenly, he understood what had caused the slimy taste in the pie he had eaten. He felt disgusted, imagining the dirt mixing with the pumpkin filling. The next day's news report revealed even more disgusting information. The bakery employee confessed to getting the dirt from a location about 3 blocks away, where there was a large green trash bin where residents of the neighborhood dumped their trash. The area was notorious for its overpowering stench, swarming with flies and other pests. The employee had obtained the dirt from beneath the trash bin. It was later discovered that the bakery employee was a deeply cynical person, having recently ended a relationship with his girlfriend, and he had spiraled into a state of depression and hatred towards those around him, leading him to commit such a heinous act. The incident left Adam feeling completely disgusted. It was undoubtedly the most revolting experience he had ever encountered.
I was a news reporter. One time, I was assigned to cover a tornado hitting a small town. I had a cameraman, John, with me who would document everything. Despite the danger, we were determined to get the story. As we drove to the town, the wind picked up and debris started flying around our car. We had to drive slowly to avoid hitting anything, but we finally made it to the town. Once we arrived, we saw the full extent of the damage. Buildings had been destroyed, and debris was flying everywhere. We knew we had to be careful, but we were so focused on getting the story that we didn't realize the danger we were in. As we were walking down the street, a huge crate flew through the air, headed straight for us. We tried to move out of the way, but it was too late. The crate crashed into the ground, just inches away from us, sending a shockwave that knocked us off our feet. We were terrified. We knew that we had come close to being seriously injured, or worse. We also knew that we had to get out of there before something worse happened. We ran to our car and drove back to the news station. Once we got there, we told our colleagues about the close call we had experienced. They were all shocked and grateful that we had made it back safely. The experience had a profound impact on us. We realized that sometimes, getting the story wasn't worth risking our lives. We vowed to be more careful in the future and to always put our safety first, even if it meant not getting the story. From that day on, John and I were known for our caution and careful reporting. We continued to cover dangerous events, but always made sure to take the necessary precautions to stay safe. The experience had taught us that no story was worth risking our lives, and we always kept that in mind.
It was a dark and quiet night, and the 20-hour supermarket was almost deserted. Around midnight, a strange man walked into the store. He was smelly and dirty, looking like a homeless person who hadn't showered in weeks. He made his way down the aisles, touching every item on the shelves with his dirty hands. The manager and security guards quickly became aware of the man's behavior and approached him, telling him to stop touching the merchandise. But the man got mad and refused to listen. He started shouting and throwing things, causing chaos in the store. As the man continued to rage, store employees began to flee in fear. The manager and security guards tried to subdue him, but he was too strong and wouldn't be restrained. They called the police, but the man still wouldn't calm down. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and a low humming sound filled the air. The man stopped his outburst and looked up, as if he had sensed something. The atmosphere in the store changed, and an eerie silence descended. Then, a strange mist started to fill the aisles. The security guards and manager were frozen with fear as they watched the mist coalesce into a figure. It was a ghostly apparition, hovering above the strange man. The ghostly figure seemed to be controlling the homeless man, forcing him to touch the merchandise and causing the commotion in the store. The manager and security guards watched in horror as the ghostly figure passed through them, chilling them to the bone. As quickly as it had appeared, the ghostly apparition disappeared, leaving the homeless man on the floor, passed out. The police arrived shortly after and took the man away, but the incident left the store employees shaken to the core. From that day on, the store employees never felt at ease working the graveyard shift again. The incident became infamous and was remembered as the night the ghost took over the 20-hour supermarket. The employees who witnessed it would share their story with new colleagues, warning them to be cautious when working at night. The incident left a lasting impression on everyone who worked there, and many wondered if the ghostly apparition would ever return.